favorite person. My new best friend is here, Lilian Garcia. Let's start by discussing Raw 25 and the Royal Rumble. And I'm going to voice my opinion that I was so bummed out that you did not announce the Women's Royal Rumble. That was a huge mistake. That is my opinion only, but I think that just huge mistake.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Well, I do.
Do you want to lower this slightly?
Oh, sure.
Is that better for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I do. I mean, first of all, let's start with Raw 25 when they told me that I was being called up for that, and celebrating 25 years of Raw. I'm like, God, this is so awesome, especially because, being with the company for 15 years, it was just such an honor. And to be standing on that stage with 9 other, or I should say 10, because the Bellas were, double. Yeah. So, just those amazing women that through the years, and the fact that I wasn't even a wrestler, and yet I was being recognized for being, one of the most influential, whatever, of the last 25 years was such a just tremendous honor, for sure. No, I didn't get the call for the Royal Rumble. And I have to say, I think, with the company, they're a business and they're looking to get outside advertising, I would say. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in their minds. I don't know, but I'm just thinking that maybe they're looking that Maria Menounos could bring a lot of outside people. I know she loves wrestling. She's a big fan of it. And, Maria and I have had many years that we've known each other. She's awesome. And I wished her well. I was excited for her. Now, I'm going to say, did I wish that I was doing it? Of course. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Of course. If I would have gotten that call, to me, that would have been so special. Right. And I feel
especially because Trish and Tori and everybody were there too. Yeah.
Oh my God. And I was talking to everybody on the podcast, leading up to it. I was talking to a lot of the past, female superstars about it. And then, the week before I got to speak to 4 of the current roster. And I was just so excited for that moment. Right. I had no idea that they were even going to bring a guest, announcer. I just thought they were going to use JoJo. Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I was bummed in the fact that I would have loved to have been part of that. But I was so happy for all the women and even for Maria that got to be part of that.
Such an amazing event.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was glad to see that JoJo got to do the rules and be part of it because she's working her ass off there, you know. And just the whole thing was just so special. I was in tears, man. It was just so great to get to that, and and it was so good. It was so good that you couldn't believe that it hadn't happened before.
Yeah.
That's the thing, But, Trish, when she came on my podcast, she said, it came at the right time. She said, I don't think we could have pulled it off beforehand. There was just this, she really recognizes the work that the women have done and just how they've come along and evolved and all of that. It really is tremendous to see the growth in that.
Absolutely. It was amazing. Yeah. So let's go back a bit and talk about how you first came up with WWE, how you first got signed and what you were doing right before that.
Yeah. Well, I lived in Madrid. That's where I grew up. And then I moved to South Carolina. And while I was in South Carolina, when I was in college, I started doing radio. And then after I left and graduated from USC, and let me just say it's the USC because the Gamecocks were here before the Trojans. But when I graduated, I decided to move to New York. And when I went to New York, I was like, I'm totally pursuing this. I'm going to pursue my singing career. I'm going to go full, throttle. I was in a band when I was 14 years old. And so that was always I had music, right?
When you were that young, were you doing cover songs or were you writing songs?
Totally cover songs.
Okay,
yeah. I didn't really write till later.
Okay.
I had a fear. I had a fear of writing. I had this perception of it. Yeah. And I didn't know that if I could do it. And also, but it wasn't until I got to New York. That's when I wrote my very first song was in New York. So everything changed for me there. But yeah, so I get to New York and I work in an investment firm because that was I just needed a quick job.
Yeah.
So I work in an investment firm. And from there, I decided to go ahead and I actually was singing on the weekends at a Spanish restaurant, Ole. So I sang there for 2 years, and then I got discovered there from a 14-piece orchestra called Starlight. And so I did Starlight for 2.5 years. And so, we were performing huge huge gala events. Like I even had like Michael Bolton came up and sang with us. I remember Donald being in the audience, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like there was Gwyneth Paltrow. There was like everybody you could think of. And I'll never forget that this one show, we were at the Plaza because we were performing either at the Plaza or St. Regis and all. It was just such a great just experience to learn and you start with these ballads.
And how often were you doing this?
I was doing it every single weekend.
Every week. Okay.
Every weekend. Okay. The thing that I learned there so much, it was like I never knew classic songs. I never knew those standards at all. I had no idea what they were. So all of a sudden, I'm learning Ella Fitzgerald and, just all these Billie Holiday and all these classic songs, right? And that was for when the people are having dinner and all of that. You play these things. And then you break out after that. You break down into, and like I said, it's 14-piece orchestra. It's huge. You break into every like top 40 or whether it's, your standards, but it's like rockin' standards and stuff. So I learned so much vocally and performing in that. And great experience with that show. So then I actually got the call when I was doing that. Oh, that's right. I'm doing that. Okay, so I go from the Spanish restaurant, I go to the 14-piece orchestra. But then I'm like, okay, I got to do something than I was literally doing weddings and doing bar mitzvahs. And this is the one I was going to tell you about that. I'll never forget this moment. I was at the Plaza. And now with the band, they would go from one song straight to the other. Just keep it moving, keep it moving. I sang the song Someone Like You from Jekyll and Hyde, the Broadway show.
Okay.
And right after I got done, like while this was happening, there was a woman, and I'll tell you who she was in a minute. But she was she came right to the front of the stage, and she was in tears. And I'm singing, and I'm just and I'm looking at her, I'm going, oh my God, is that who I think it is? And like I can't believe this is happening. So after the song gets done, she calls me down. I look at my conductor because, of course, we're supposed to go straight from one song. He stops everything. He said, go. So I go down there. I have to kneel down because the stage is so high. She grabs me around my neck and she says, oh, my God, that was so beautiful. Don't ever stop singing. Don't ever stop singing. That was Eartha Kitt.
What?
Eartha Kitt. Like, I couldn't believe it.
That's crazy.
And it's insane. Yeah. And for some of you that don't know who Eartha Kitt is, Santa Baby, like she's the original of that, the original like Catwoman, or so it's a really incredible moment. And I keep every time I kind of want to stop singing or something, or feel like not that I want to stop singing, but if things get difficult, I'll be like remembering her. I'll remember her. So anyway, so I went ahead and right after. As I'm, thinking about what to do next, all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put myself into acting classes and commercial classes and all that. And so I did. I went to Wiesbaden and I studied with them. And they had this course that after you study for for 2 or 3 courses with the teachers and all that, you can actually audition to be in what they call the agents course. Mm-hmm. And in the agents course, basically what you've got like 9 different weeks, because it's once a week. You've got 9 different weeks that you can audition for an agent, which is incredible. Like that's what you need, right? So I took that course. And so I auditioned, and sure enough, there was an agent that hired me, or actually signed me. So that agent sent me out for voiceovers. I would do voiceovers. I would do commercials. I did a Lucille Roberts commercial, which is a fitness place. Oh, yeah, a fitness commercial.
Are those still around?
I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea. I know that was very New York, right? Yeah. So I did that, and then I got called for the WWF at the time, and I literally said the World Wildlife Fund. Yeah. And he goes, no, World Wrestling Federation. Like, what? Like, I knew it as a kid. I used to watch it with my dad. He took me to the Township Auditorium. I watched Andre the Giant. I mean, I actually got to watch Andre the Giant live, so it was great. Ric Flair, all of them. So I was into it as a kid. But I'd fallen out of it while I went to school. So I was like, wait, but I'm a singer, and how
who discovered you and how?
Right? So the guy goes, I almost didn't go to the audition. And my agent was like, go. You never know. You never know what will come out of this. So I'm like, okay, I will take his advice, in which I'm so grateful I did. And I went, and it was literally to audition. I didn't even know this till I got there. They had a Spanish show that they were going to do Super Astros, I think was the name of it. And they were looking for someone to do backstage interviews.
Okay.
So when I got there, I found out it was backstage interviewing. So I was doing in Spanish. I was doing like mock-up interviews. And then they handed me a roll of tape at the end of the whole audition. They told me to sell the tape for 1 minute, but I couldn't sell it as tape. And I did that portion in English. They wanted to hear it in English. So literally I pretended to be putting like bracelets around, and I'm like, they're counting me down, telling me how much more time I have.
Yeah.
So I'm like putting, I'm like, ladies, you know, and it's black. It was black tape. And I was like, you know, you're looking at this. It's not just tape because you forgot your bracelets. Don't worry about it. And so I'm putting them around. I was like, oh, you want to be a little different? Put it up here. So I'm like, you're like Xena the Warrior, you know? Yeah. And they're like saying you have 30 seconds left. So I'm like, I look down and I lift my shirt and I'm like, oh my God, you're at a party and your pants are just like, they're like loose. They're falling down. I said, but you don't want to put a belt because then it's like very bulky. It's like, don't worry about it. You got the tape. And so I'm putting the tape around my waist and I'm like, you see, you put your shirt over, it's seamless. Like, you know, nothing's there. Right. And then they're like, all right, 10 more seconds. I'm like, so when you look at a roll of tape, don't look at it just roll of tape because it's so much more. Cut. Everyone started applauding. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? Yeah. I found out later that a lot of the because they had men and women that had auditioned for it. A lot of people froze. A lot of people, they handed that tape and they're like, I don't know, you know, they all this. So the fact that
you just improv it right away.
Well, the reason they did that, I found out later too, because it's live TV.
Right.
So they wanted to know, can you think on your feet? Yeah. Like, you know, because it's live TV, right? Yeah. So because I did, when I got the call back, which was just, I always say this too. I got on the train because I took the train from New York to Stanford, came back. So when I got on the train, I'm like, you know what, God, let me do my best. And if it's meant to be, make it obvious. If it's not meant to be, make it obvious. So when I got done, I was like, okay, I feel like I did my best. So again, if it's meant to be, make it obvious. So they call me on Friday and want me for a callback on Monday, but I was going to be heading to San Francisco to do already what's called an industrial for another company. So I was like, I can't make the callback. Can we do it at a different time? Well, then all of a sudden it went radio silence. Uh-oh. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess it's not meant to be, right? 6 months go by. They call me back. And I'm like, what the hell? Right. So sure enough, what had happened was they, I think it's with Univision that they did the Super Astro show. They had already hired a girl to do backstage interviews and didn't tell WWE. So WWE ran all of these auditions without, at least this is what I was told, right? Okay, yeah. So sure enough, they had somebody there, and she did it for 6 months, and Super Astro didn't even last. Like the show was done. The part that I did in English with the tape got forwarded because a show called SmackDown was starting. No way. And they needed new announcers. Amazing. So they forwarded that part to Kevin Dunn, the executive producer, and they were like, I feel like we should bring this girl back in. She was really, on her feet, great spirit, all of that. So they bring me back in. So I'm like getting this call 6 months later. I'm like, this is crazy.
That's crazy. Right? Yeah.
But again, my agent's like, go. You never know. Go. Yeah. Now I'm right at the point of signing with Music Manager. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? But I went. Again, the best advice I could give anybody is just go. Like, you never know. You could always turn it down. You could always, fun, but you never know. So I went. And this time, Michael Cole was was with me in the rehearsal or the audition. He was interviewing me. I was interviewing, like we were doing like mock-up backstage interviews. I still didn't know it was ring announcing. Not a word had been said. I did mock-up like commentating, which was a nightmare. Literally, they will talk to you at the same time. And because I had fallen out of wrestling, I didn't know who anybody was. Okay. And so I'm watching on the screen, like, I didn't know storylines. So I didn't know what to say. Right? I didn't know the name of moves. I didn't know nothing. So I was like, commentator, no. So, so then I get back on the train and I'm like, okay, but I think like everything else went all right. And I even kidded around with them. I was like, yeah, commentator, you won't be hiring me, But so Chris Chambers was there. I remember running the audition, which he's still there, and it's just odd. The one thing that I remember about this, I was treated like gold. They literally, from the moment you got there, they had a makeup and hair person. They wanted everybody to have like not because somebody could do their hair and makeup better than the other. They really wanted everybody in an even playing field. So they did hair and makeup for everybody in the audition. They put fruit platters out and food and whatever. And I'm just telling you, for some of you that don't know what an audition usually is, like, it is not like this.
Right.
It is, you're a number, you walk in, it is a white wall, and you're saying your name and you're out, you know? So I was really impressed with the way that they rolled out the red carpet. So I went home, and by the time I got home, they had called me. And my agent's like, look, they like to try you out for 2 to 3 months, and you can quit at any time if you don't like it. That to me was obvious. When I said, God, make it obvious, that to me was obvious. Try it. Right? So I show up, that was August 23rd of 1999. I show up at Iowa State University, and it was the day right after SummerSlam. And I look around, I'm like, whoa. Wow. Okay. And I still don't know. Like I'm being given the tour of the arena and all of that. I still don't know what I'm doing. I don't know till 3:30 that afternoon that I'm ring announcing that night. And then I'm like, and how do you do this job?
Yeah.
Like can somebody like fill me in?
It's so nuts.
And I'm replacing Howard Finkel, like a legend. Like it's just
He's there forever.
Crazy. There forever. Love him, love Tony Chimmel. Both of them helped me so much. They didn't have to, you know what I mean? And Howard could have been so sour and so, but he wasn't. And he was just constantly helping me. And to this day, we see each other. We're just like all hugs. And I have so much respect. It's not easy being replaced.
Yeah.
It is not easy,
Right.
And for some people, they can get extremely bitter about it.
Totally.
So, but not them. They were so helpful. And, Tony sat with me and told me exactly what to say. And I'm writing out cue cards. And I think some of that
speaks to who you are, though, too.
Oh,
as a person,
well,
probably.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was very like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just here. And I didn't mean to come and take your job. I'm just doing what they're telling me to do. Right. And, no, but he was really gracious and really great. And he goes, no, you do your thing. You do your thing. You do your thing. So, I think he realized if it wouldn't have been me, it would have been somebody else.
Yeah.
So I ring announced that night, and I was horrible.
But was that like you went there thinking you're going to be backstage the whole night? And then
I thought I was going to do backstage interviews, which is what I ended up doing for SmackDown. Because at first, at the beginning, we did both shows. We did Raw and SmackDown.
Oh, so you were announcing on Raw, but backstage on SmackDown. Okay.
Right. Which is why then The Rock and I did some of those interviews that are so classic, on SmackDown.
Yeah.
So I ring announced that night for the very first time, and it was just so scary because I didn't find out till 20 minutes before getting up there. My training, listen to my training. My training was watching Tony Chimmel do Sunday Night Heat an hour before I went on.
Oh,
that was my training. As I'm sitting at ringside trying to rewrite my cue cards because I can't read everything that I've put, when I met at 3:30 because everything's going so fast. So it's not till 20 minutes before the show that Mark looks at me and he goes, you can't use cue cards, right? And I looked at him, I was like, this is a really bad time for a joke, right? And he's like, no, I'm not joking. Like the executive producer, Kevin Dunn, does not like cue cards. This is not boxing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, how am I supposed to do this? Like, I don't know who anybody is. I don't know their weights, their towns, what kind of match it is. Is it a title match? Do they hold a title? Do they not hold a title? What's the name of the titles? Is it an Intercontinental title? Is it a Hardcore Championship? Is it, oh my Lord, there's just so much people don't realize. And the timing and the flow and and worldwide too. Yeah. You've got that little red light that's right in front of you. No joke. And even now you don't see the red lights. They don't have that anymore in the cameras. But in 1999 they did. Yeah. That red light was staring right at you. And I'd be like, oh my God. But I just thank God my mom has photographic memory and gave it to me, and I could look at a piece of paper and memorize it right before going up there. But I messed up so much. Yeah. So and it was learning on the job, learning in front of everybody. I just thank God there was no Twitter back then, I don't know if I would have survived.
Yeah. And would guys ever get pissed if you announced their wrong hometown or something?
Oh my God, it was crazy. Well, because they're also I'm the first one to come from outside of the wrestling world, so they're like, "Who is this chick?"
Yeah,
right. And then I wasn't told to go around and shake hands and be super friendly to everybody. Yeah. So I'm standoffish because I'm like, I don't want to bother anybody. Sure.
That's what you would assume. Yeah.
Right. Well, they're looking at me like, wow, she's really like a bitch. You know, that's not the way they're looking at me. And I'm like,
because that's like in the wrestling business, you're supposed to do that. And you're supposed to go up to the Undertaker and the oldest guys first and everything. Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. My name is Lilian. You know, whatever. You're supposed to go. I didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I learned the hard way, but through the year, I mean, it didn't take that long, but I'm just saying, I think they saw that I respect the business. They saw that I love the business. They saw that I had a passion for wrestling. You know, I mean, I went home and memorized everything as quickly as I could. Not to say that there were still not mistakes. I mean, it's live TV. Yeah. It's going to happen, right? And what happened, I'll never forget. Like, there's this one match that it had Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho in both of them. Chris Benoit was in the ring having a match with someone else. I'm looking at my cue cards to learn what the next match is about to say, right? Ding, 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 the end of, and Jericho was coming up in the next match. The end of Chris Benoit's match goes, and then I forget that, oh yeah, you have to announce the winner, right? So I literally said, because I have Chris Jericho on the brain from the next match, I say, here's your winner, Chris Jericho. Oh. And Chris Benoit's in the ring.
Oh, no.
And Jericho's about to come out, but he's not there yet. Yeah. You know, but I'm like, and of course when that happens, I'm like, mortified.
Right.
But it was great because in the next night, they actually wrote it into a storyline where when I'm on SmackDown and I'm interviewing, I have an interview with Chris Benoit, they actually bring it up where Chris Benoit brings it up. And he's like, so, Chris Jericho, huh? Don't you know who I am? And he was a heel, so it was perfect.
Yeah.
He goes, don't you know who I am? Don't you forget who I am? And all that. So he got incorporated into a storyline. Okay. So it was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what a time to start at the company, because that was really the heat of the Attitude Era, right? Like, it was just kicking off, or when did it really begin? Well, 97 maybe?
Yeah, it was 97, 98, something like that. So here I was in 99. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was insane. And I didn't know it at the time, right? None of us really knew that we were in the Attitude Era. You know what I mean? Like, it's only now that you look back and go, holy crap, what an era.
Right.
Like, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. But it was also hard. It was really hard because I had, you know, you had The Rock, you had Stone Cold, you had Undertaker, you got, you know, Shawn Michaels. I mean, think of DX. You got all of these.
You had like the majority of the top 20 biggest names ever,
exactly.
all at their peak at once.
Right.
Yeah,
and here's a girl who's learning on the job.
Yeah.
You know, and I wanted to do my best. And that's the thing. I think they saw it. Rock was one of the first that befriended me. So was Mark Henry. Super nice. The Dudley Boys, when they got there, super nice. Devon was just ridiculous, like how nice. Yeah. And there's just little by little, I started getting more and more friendships made and people starting to see that, hey, I'd been given an opportunity. It's not my fault that I'm replacing Howard. It's not my fault that I'm not trained. You know, that's just the way it was back then. They just, there was no NXT Performance Center.
Sure.
It was the Attitude Era, you know? So, yeah, and Triple H, all of them were there. Oh my gosh. I think back. Wow.
Now, was it easier for you to develop closer friendships with the guys? Was there because back then it wasn't what it is today with the females. Yeah. Like, you know, there was definitely.
Well, I would say with the females, especially at first, not their fault either. You know, China at first wasn't the friendliest to me. And, there were some that were like Ivory was amazing, and so was Jacqueline, amazing. The original Tori, I don't even know her last name, not Tori Wilson, but there was an original Tori that was there. She was really sweet. Luna I had to win over.
Okay.
China had to win over, and China actually apologized later. She said, you know what, there's so many people that I've seen come into this, especially women that have come into this business because they want to go on and make it to Hollywood and they don't really care about our business. And you came from outside our business and I didn't know who you were and I didn't know whether you were one of them.
Yeah,
and
that
she
makes
said,
sense, totally.
I can tell you're not. And so she said, I'm sorry for the way I was. And so she and I actually developed,
that's great to hear, yeah.
You know what, it takes a lot, I think, for someone. I always say, man, that right there tells me who you really are, right? At the core is if you can step up and go, you know what, I'm sorry. This is why, and I apologize, and let's move forward. And so from that moment on, I thought very big of her, right? Yeah. So it was great. And she loved my dog. Oh my God. Whenever I had like in the area or something, if I had my dog, she went crazy over him. And so it was a little tough, but I typically have always made more male friends than females. That just came from me moving from Spain. And I was, going to a new school. In Spain, you would wear dresses to school. You wouldn't wear jeans. And so it was a whole new culture, and I spoke Spanish and all of that. So, I mean, not that I didn't know how to speak English. I know how to speak English, but it was just seen as different, right? In South Carolina, who's this girl? It's like not now. And now it's like more accepted. Right. So I was bullied a lot from the females. And I also made the mistake, and I want to say this to anybody who's out there trying to be with the popular kids and forcing yourself to be there. Do not do that. I forced myself. I was trying to be popular so bad. And so I remember we'd go into the lunchroom, and I knew where they would sit. So I'd hurry up and get there, and I'd get my food, and I'd sit there. I was forcing myself to be at the table so that I could be with them and be with the popular kids. And so immediately, what am I doing? I'm putting a target on my back. And people are like, oh, who is she? She's imposing herself on us. And of course, I'm not going to accept it. So I got bullied, but I made it worse. I'll take responsibility with that. I made it worse. And then if somebody didn't like me, I'm like, why? Why don't you like me? So it was hard. Like, I just couldn't comprehend, because in Spain, I didn't deal with any of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was no popular kids or not popular kids. There was none of that. In Spain. It's just people just got along with each other. I mean, even now when you go to Spain, as soon as you walk into a restaurant, anybody out there probably that's listening to this and has been to Spain, have you?
Yes.
Okay. Did you encounter, like, when you walk into a tapas bar or whatever, immediately the people that work there, hey, greeting, come in, have this, yes, let them give you so inviting and welcoming. And the next thing you know, you're talking to the person next to you, and everyone's having this great time, and, sangria, fiesta, all of that. That's what I grew up with. Okay. So I didn't get the clicks. That was just something here that I just didn't know how to, and I literally didn't know how to handle it. Yeah. And I didn't handle it well. And when there was somebody that I found out that didn't like me, instead I would actually tell the guidance counselor, and then would have the guidance counselor have both of us in there. That's just horrible. Like, you don't do that. Yeah. I made it worse. Thinking that I was trying. Right. I was trying. It was the worst thing you could do. Yeah. Well, what can you do?
So let's talk about that a little bit. Becky Lynch,
love
and
her.
Tori Wilson both said you're the greatest person ever. And they were super excited that you were coming on the show. And they actually have some. Tori has something funny I'm supposed to ask you.
Okay.
But how much do you think about that? Because I always say to people, and to take nothing away from their skill set, your skill set, whatever, but a lot of times it's not necessarily your business acumen or your technical ability or your skill. There's a lot of people who are at the same level. It's your likability and your people skills. And the second you and I met, and within 5 minutes, I was like, I want to hang out with you every day. Like, your energy, and you're an amazing person. And so has that been something that you've consciously worked on as you've gotten older? Because I have. Like, I used to be terrible in social situations and just awkward and shy and weird. And so I always am consciously aware of that and try to get better at that. And it seems so natural for you that you would walk into a room and everyone would love you. But is that something that you've worked on?
I've worked on it. Like I said, it's funny because I know that there's this big campaign against bullying. Yeah. And I agree. It's horrible. And there's scars that, I've had it for a really long time. At the same time, and it's not just me that I've heard this said, people would go, I wouldn't change it for anything.
I know. That's what's
Isn't
hard.
that crazy?
Yeah.
Right? So I go, you know what? It's made me who I am today.
Right.
And the thing is that because I got bullied, because I learned so much, like I said, the forcing, you just don't force anyone to like you. Yeah. Just don't. If someone's not going to like you, they ain't going to like you. Yeah. But I've also said to myself, I'm not going to not be me. Right. If you don't like who I am, that's fine. I respect that. And there's other people you can go have a relationship with, whatever. But I don't want to change who I am. The main thing that I've really, I I feel that I have changed is I listen more.
Yeah.
I listen more. I get more interested in what the other person's saying in their story.
Right.
And I remember that a part of that is when it actually, you know, they say a lot of times when things bother you is because they're reflecting right back at you.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
So I remember there was a friend of mine. We had just met, but we really hit it off. And every time she didn't live here, but anytime she came to LA to stay with me or you know, just to not necessarily stay with me, but, you know, to catch up and stuff, she would say to you, "How are you?" And you would say 2 sentences, and then, man, she was back to how she was.
Yeah.
Right? So I learned a lot to and I finally pulled her aside one day, and I said, "Look, you know, you're asking me how I am. Do you really want to know how I am? Or are you just waiting for your in to, you know, go in?" And I said, "I'm saying this as a friend. Because it's okay if you don't want to know how I am, that's fine.
Right.
But don't ask me, and then, you know, whatever." So she goes, "Oh my God, I never knew I did that." And ever since then, it was a change. She literally, when she asked it, she stayed quiet. She learned, and then you can have.
I love that you did that, because it takes balls to have that conversation with someone, because it's an uncomfortable conversation.
It is.
Yeah.
But I've always told my friends too, if I'm doing something, please tell me.
Then those are the people you need in your life.
Absolutely.
That are going to call you out on your bullshit and help you get better.
Yeah.
And I do that too with my friends, and I tell them to do the same for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we got into that locker room, I was just like, wow, here I am. I've been not having the best relationships with women, and now I work with all these women.
Yeah.
Right? And now some of them haven't been very nice to me from the beginning. But like I said, I learned my lesson. I didn't try to force any of them to like me. China, all of them. The only thing I did was, at the end of the night, she and I were always, because she always made, you know, headlined pretty much with DX, you know, and I was always the last one there too. Everyone else was already on the road.
Right.
So she and I were always in that locker room by ourselves.
Oh, okay.
And for the longest time, I'd have this pain in the gut of my stomach, like, oh my God, you know, I'm in here with someone who does like me.
Yeah.
But as soon as I walked in, I would be like, wow, Chinaman, you killed it. Authentically.
Yeah.
You know. I won't say anything if you didn't, you know what I mean? Like they say, don't just make up stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, you killed it. Like that was so awesome. And then that's it. I wouldn't be like rambling on with her, because obviously I could tell too she wasn't into the ramble, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All she would say was like, "Thank you." You know, and then it was really quiet and very awkward as we were, you know, getting ready and packing our bags and all. And it wasn't until that finally that day where she said, "I want to apologize to you." And that's where it was.
Wow.
And it was this intimate conversation. And then from that point on, we could actually talk and have, you know, conversations. And she genuinely wanted to know more about me and I about her and all. And so I realized that moment. I went, oh, this is how it works. You just don't force yourself on anyone. So as more and more people came on, like when Trish came in, it was the same thing. They gave her the cold shoulder. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I could tell I liked Trish from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I said, there's no reason that anybody should be receiving the cold shoulder because they're new in the locker room.
Right.
You know? And women have been catty through the years. They really have. It's almost those things that you just ingrained. I don't know.
Yeah.
Things are changing though. Thank God.
Yep.
But I remember saying to myself, the more I'm in this locker room and the more new people come in, I want to make them feel welcome, because I don't want to. That's a horrible feeling when you're hired there and it's like cold shoulders. So I remember she and I ended up writing it together. From that, we rode together and we had this beautiful friendship. We rode together for 7 years. And then, you know, I went to her wedding. She came to mine. She flew, when I first started my podcast, she flew 8 months pregnant to be on my podcast. I mean, and then, you know, now she just did last 2 episodes she did with me. And it was just...
That's so great.
It is. Yeah. And we can stay on the phone for hours and talk and just, and it all started from me just being nice to her. Yeah. You know?
What a great story.
And so that's when Tori Wilson came in, when Stacy Keebler came in, with, you know, when anybody else, Victoria came in, Molly Holly came in, all of them. I was like, you know what? I'm going to treat people the way I wanted to be treated.
Yeah.
And what happened was these amazing friendships that I still have. I still get together with Tori. I still get together with Victoria. I still get together with Molly, or I'll talk to Molly Holly because she's in Minnesota.
Yeah.
But like, we still have these amazing friendships. And So that's the thing is like, it's so powerful. And for somebody that was so scared of females for so long, now I'm like, oh, I don't know where I'd be without them.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, it's great life lessons that we learn.
Victoria's fun.
I
spent some time with her. Yeah.
But fun crazy. Yeah.
So Tori told me to ask you about or mention that when you guys would go out to eat, Tori said they would make you order first because you had
I have food allergies.
Yeah. And Tori was like, I don't want my food getting spit in.
Oh my God. Well, what happened is, I lived in this house, and I actually, again, it's one of those things. Do we gripe about the things that have happened to us, or do we get empowered by them? And I've gotten empowered by it. So I lived in this house with black mold, high levels of black mold. I had no idea. It was in my closet.
Yeah.
And so basically I wore it 24/7.
Wow.
So after living there for 2.5 years, I got really sick. Didn't know what was going on. So it wasn't until I moved, that was in South Carolina.
And sometimes it's hard to discover that that's what the problem was.
And I didn't even discover it when I lived there. So this was in South Carolina. I moved to New York. When I get to New York, all of a sudden I am sick. And when I say sick, I mean respiratory and sinus infections where I had to be on antibiotics every 3 weeks.
Oof.
Every 3 weeks. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. I started announcing for the WWE. I start losing my voice. So as I'm sitting there, I remember when Trish and I were writing, I would announce, I would get in the car, she'd want to sing, because she loves to sing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sing. I couldn't barely talk to her. I was like, what the hell's going on? Like I didn't understand. I was freaking out, right?
Yeah,
my voice is everything.
Right.
Luckily, I found a doctor that kind of pinpoint. We figured it all out, like the timing of everything. As she does the whole testing of everything you can think of, the mold count was so high that she's like, whoa, you've been exposed to really like a lot of mold.
Was this like a holistic naturopath?
No, she's an allergist.
Okay.
Straight out allergist.
Okay.
So I went ahead, and at that time, tell me, I don't believe in coincidence. Somebody was looking out for me. Because at that time, we still owned the house in South Carolina. We were having to get it reshingled, the roof, because it was just time, right? So we get the house reshingled, and they call us and they said, hey, by the way, do you know that there's no slits cut in this house? And the house needs slits to ventilate, which I didn't know that, but I learned a lot. The house was on the lake. So you think about all that dampness that was going into the house, and then they went and they found it in the closet, right behind the closet wall, where all this mold was there. So when I told her that, she's like, bingo, there you go. She's like, look, I want you to follow this mold-free diet for 2 weeks, like religiously, and tell me how you feel after that. Well, it was like the blinders got like lifted off my life. Yeah. Like I finally could sing. Because I literally couldn't even sing. Yeah. I was so devastated. Like it was just, everything was so hard. And so now I could sing and all that. Well, the thing is, though, I have to be on this diet. It's been 16 years or so. Yeah. And I still have to be on it. Anytime.
So is it no grains?
It's more than just grain. It's dairy, soy, vinegar, garlic, anything that ferments. Yeah. Okay. Anything that ferments. Yeah. So, and I remember I had a sore throat, and someone was like, here, gargle with vinegar. It's so good. I put some of it. I'm gargling, and I mean, a lot, hacking.
Instantly?
Instantly.
Wow.
And it was because I was literally ingesting mold. Yeah. My body has gotten to the point where it can't break down mold, and there's mold properties in certain foods. Yeah. And so your body thinks that mold's invading, so it starts creating histamine, so it's going crazy. Right. And I haven't been able to find an allergist yet that has been able to like reverse any of this. But it's a really great diet, I will say. Yeah. It's kept me really clean. I eat no preservatives whatsoever.
Yeah, I was going to say, you must feel great.
I feel wonderful. Yeah. I think that, like I said, it's a blessing in disguise. Right. If you had to do it all over again, I'd be like, as hard as it's been, yeah. But yeah, going to restaurants can be a little challenging. It's only because the waiters sometimes, most of the time, they only know how to order one way. Right. So when you tell them, look, I just want a piece of chicken, don't put anything on it, and just some vegetables. Oh, well, do you want some kind of sauce? No sauce. No. Yeah. Well, do you want me to saute it with garlic? No, that's okay. Nothing. Just olive oil. Just olive oil. How's that? Just olive oil. Well, And then sure enough, when they bring it to the table, it's wrong.
Right,
I'll have like mushrooms
Yeah,
or have like
yeah.
whatever. And I'm like, what? And so that's
what was unclear.
and that's what Tori's experienced.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so she gets so shy. She's like, oh my God, they're going to do it again. And they're going to spit on our food. And
Yeah.
But you have to, I mean, it's my health. I have to speak
Yeah.
up. And I'm nice about it, but I have to be like, look, this is the hand that's been dealt. And
Right.
just whenever the chef thinks it's not going to be any fun for me to eat, I'm like, no, I taste food. It's great.
Right.
I taste because it's not covered with everything else. My taste buds have, I don't know. I don't mind it.
Let's go back to the Attitude Era for a
Yeah.
second and share some memories that stand out. I mean, you were involved in some angles.
Yes.
Did you got a few injuries or no?
Injuries? No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
So what were some memories that stand out?
Oh,
like
my
maybe
God.
Some of the segments with The Rock or.
Well, yeah. I mean, definitely the backstage segments with The Rock were so much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it was. The writers kind of saw like we did this one thing, and then from there they were like, oh, there's like some chemistry here. We can have it where she's like, because I don't know, I can naturally just blush. Like it's so crazy. Like he would always make me blush.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's put her in situations where she would totally blush.
Yeah.
And he would call me out sometimes at ringside, and there I am, and I'm just blushing, and so it just became fun. And he loved the working together, and I vice versa, and it just I'm blessed. I'm blessed
Yeah.
that I had that situation with him for sure. What was the other question?
Well, a follow up to that is,
Yeah.
Does it shock you in any way to see his success now? Could you see
Shock
that?
me? No.
Yeah, you could see
No,
kind of.
this guy was driven.
Yeah.
Does it shock me that he has the same hours that I have and the things that he can accomplish? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I go, damn it. What am I like? I have the same amount of hours as him, yet it seems like he is literally conquering the world. I don't
Right.
know, but I don't know that I could keep his pace up. For me, I don't feel like it would personally. I have no idea, if it's balanced for him or not balanced for him or whatever. I don't think that I could feel balanced having that kind of
Now,
schedule.
I know for a fact that if I tried to keep that schedule, I would be on respiratory medication every
Right?
3 weeks. I would be sick all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know whether it's just, I don't know,
Yeah.
something in him. But God, kudos, man. It's amazing. But he's just so naturally gifted. Like he just has, when I say naturally gifted, like he works his ass off.
Sure.
But you have to have some kind of natural, the it factor.
Yep,
Right?
definitely.
And he has that.
Yeah.
He has that. And so I love his movies, and I love the fact that, they're so successful. And the
Yeah.
fact that I get to work with him, like that's just
Right.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I ran into him actually. He was filming for Ballers, and he was filming on my
yeah.
street.
Yeah.
And I literally, somebody told me he was down there, and I'm like, oh, I have got to go crash the set. So I did.
Oh, you did?
And without, even my husband, he went down there with me, and my husband just stops. He goes, wait, we can't go past this. And I was like, watch me. Stay here. So sure enough, like I go right past, and the guy asked me, because there's a Boathouse down there where you could actually, like a little grocery store thing. He's like, excuse me, where are you going? I went, oh, I'm just going to the Boathouse. So he's like, oh, okay. So I go to the Boathouse, and I time it right. Right after I get out of the Boathouse, I'm like, okay, I know they're cutting, and they're about to come and replace, right? Like, reset.
Yeah.
So sure enough, I'm just kind of waiting, and I'm looking at my, just kind of like, just,
Right.
yeah, just fumbling. And then all of a sudden, there he is coming around the corner. And so I see him. And so I come around, and I'm like, hey. He's like, hey, what are you doing here? I'm like,
Yeah.
well, this is kind of where I live. And he's
that's
like, you're kidding
awesome.
me? I'm like, yeah, I heard you were down here. I had to say hi.
Yeah.
So it was cool. And
So
he
you guys got
stopped.
to hang out and
We
talk for a
did.
little
We
bit?
talked for a little bit until
Yeah.
the director was like, excuse me, we have to film.
Right,
I'm
right,
like,
right.
okay, yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it was cool. It was
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And so I imagine you and, because Stone Cold lives right over by you as well.
Yeah.
So you guys stay in touch?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love him. And we saw each other at Raw 25. It
Yeah.
was so cool. He was like, you ready to pound some beers?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. But then
Yeah.
the segment was like something so different. So it didn't work out. But it was cool that he brought that up.
Yeah.
So, guys, that was, maybe supposed to happen. But next time.
Yeah. Any other standout memories from like the heyday of the Attitude Era?
Yeah, so I just remember being in a situation, my God, when I was, what's the name of it? It's Simone Drop. and it was Umaga. At the time, he was Jamal. 3-minute warning.
Wait, you got Samoan dropped by him?
Oh yeah. Oh, you haven't seen this? Oh, you have to Google it.
I've probably seen it. I don't
you
remember.
have to. No, okay. I think you'd remember if you've seen it. It's pretty spectacular. Because I looks like such a frail little thing going way down. You can YouTube it.
He was,
I think you YouTube it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And he frog splashed me too, right after that. Oh yeah. But I didn't feel anything with a frog splash. Yeah. I felt everything with the Samoa drop.
Wow.
Well, the reason why, like they said, first of all, they like make sure that you blow out when you hit. Mm-hmm. First of all, we rehearsed it in the mat during the day. Like I never.
To backtrack for a second. Yeah. You're ring announcing for years before you got involved in any angles like this, right?
Well, no, it wasn't years. So the storyline was that Howard Finkel wanted his job back.
Yeah. Okay.
And so Howard pushes me into 3-minute warning. Okay. Like he and I are having like this discussion in the ring, and we're having this contest, like, and whoever wins the contest gets to be the permanent ring announcer.
And when they come to you backstage for the first time and say, "Okay, you're gonna be taking bumps and whatnot," are you like, "Oh my god"?
I'm like, "No, let's do it."
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, no. I'm a thrill seeker. Okay. I love sports. I love fitness. I love all of that stuff. So I used to play. I used to swim team. I like all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, absolutely. And I remember it wasn't only just a few weeks into me performing, or I say ring announcing, that I got put the figure 4 by Jeff Jarrett.
Oh,
so that was my very first thing that I got, which was so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun. So I was like, oh my God, anytime you guys want,
Yeah.
So, but it's funny because people had asked me I'll go back to that in a second, but they asked me why I never became a professional wrestler. Mm-hmm. And I told them, I was like, you know what? I felt like my job there was like a host and a singer. I got to incorporate my singing within the show. And I didn't feel like it was fair.
Because for those who don't, you sang the national anthem pretty much before every show, right?
Yeah. So that started because of The Rock.
Yeah.
He actually told when he found out that I sang, he told somebody, let's have her do it on, it was a live event show. Let's have her do it. And then let's see, what she sounds like. Yeah. And so I sang, and the producers were like, oh my God, this is great. So I sang every day that weekend. And then by that Monday, Vince McMahon heard about it. And so he's like, oh, well, we have to have you sing it tonight.
Yeah.
And so I sang it at San Jose. And then right that moment, he said, that's it. And that was, my gosh. Now I can't. Oh, that was around Valentine's Day that I actually performed it. And then sure enough, they had me singing it at WrestleMania that year. So
amazing.
Year 2000, that was my very first. And I hold the record. I hold the record for 3.
Right,
like, that's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, But so I got to incorporate that. And I just felt like being a wrestler is a full-time thing. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to like learn a couple things and call myself a wrestler. Yeah. That's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair. So my lane was that. Hosting, or ring announcing, backstage interviewer, and singing. And that was good for me. Yeah. I loved it. And now I lost sidetracked where I was going.
We were just going to share. Yeah, you were. So the Umaga Samoan drop.
Yeah. So it was that storyline, and so I get thrown in, and Umaga, he became Umaga later. It was Jamal at that time, and so he did the Samoa drop. So when we rehearsed it in the afternoon, there were these, what do you call those, mats? Mm-hmm. There were mats. So I rehearsed it. I'm like, okay, so this is how you do it. When we did it in the show, they kept telling me, make sure you blow out all your air before you hit. Mm. Well, I'm not a professional. Yeah. The last thing is on my mind is to blow everything out. Right? So I hit. And when I hit, the wind got knocked out of me. So I just remember, just trying to breathe. And then I'll never forget, like, I get put in the stretcher as part of the storyline. Mm-hmm. I get to the back, and everyone's asking me how I am. And, of course, everybody, I'm like, oh, I'm fine. It was great. The trainer comes to me. He goes, are you okay? And I went, I got the biggest headache ever. Like, what's going on? Uh-oh. He goes, you're going to feel this. As I said, I thought there were cushions underneath the thing. And he goes, no, it's board.
Yeah.
It's just 100% board. I'm like, oh, my God, I could feel every board there was. Right? Next day, I swear to God, I felt like a truck hit me. I'm like, how do they do this? But they all say that at the very beginning they feel it too, but then their body gets used to it. I don't know how your body gets used to it, but but I guess it's the same as hitting the gym. When you first start hitting the gym, you feel everything's sore, and then the more you do it, you don't. You just you're used to it, and you're better. But so I remember that one really well. Yeah. And I remember the Dudleys wanted to put me through a table, and I totally wanted to do it.
Really? You
Yeah, I
did?
totally wanted to do it,
Wow.
but then they stopped doing it.
Okay.
I think they did. I think they stopped it with Mae Young.
Yeah.
That was their.
That
That
I
was
remember.
it.
And that was off the top rope, right?
That was. I think it was. I don't think it was. Was it off the top rope or was it at the top of the ramp?
Oh,
I think
maybe,
that was
yeah.
off that or something.
Yeah,
I can't
something
remember now.
crazy.
It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Insane.
But even Devon talks about how that solidified them and put them on the map. That
Yeah.
right there. It's amazing.
Right.
Our crazy world is what I
Yeah.
always said. Our crazy world.
Yeah. When you were talking about singing the national anthem, that made me think of when you guys, when you sang the national anthem after September 11th.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
Oh my God. Well, I lived in New York during that time. I had gotten that call in the morning and I was still asleep because we were in Texas. So we were 2 hours behind East Coast. And, right, is it 2 hours or an hour? 2 hours, I think.
It's
Anyway.
2 hours, yeah.
So, yeah, because I think the planes hit at like 9 something, and I think I remember it being at 7. I get a call from my ex, and he tells me, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. Oh my God, I'm okay though, I'm okay. And I'm like, what? I'm trying to wake up. And he's like, the towers, somebody, a plane went into the towers. I'm like, what? And he's like, I was on my way down there. So he was on his way to a meeting to the towers. A coworker of his was late, and he's never late.
Yeah.
He was late, which got them to the towers late. He never got to go in the towers when the plane hit.
Ooh.
So he turned around and he was running, and he called me when he got up to Times Square. And then the connection broke. And so I put on the TV. Now, by the time I put on the TV, all of a sudden I see the second plane hit. And then I'm trying to get a hold of him. I can't get a hold of him. Now they're talking about how there's also other possible bombs here or there, all over the city. And then the towers fall. Mm-hmm. He calls me as the towers are falling, and I'm crying and I'm screaming and I'm like, they're gone, they're gone, they're gone. He goes, what's gone? I went, the towers, they're like gone. So anyway, I found out he was fine, That day was, if it wouldn't have been for Chuck Palumbo, I don't know what I would have done. He had followed me the night before to make sure that I got to the hotel okay. He was the only one, because Ivory and Molly and all of them that I reached out to were staying at different hotels. Chuck was the only one that I knew was at that hotel. So I called him. He came over immediately, and then he was trying to console me. And we spent the whole day together with some other people that were in that hotel. And I was numb, like everybody else.
Right.
And then when I get to, they decided to go live, because that was Tuesday, and we were then decided to go live Thursday. So I find out, I can't remember exactly when they told me that they wanted me to sing the anthem. I feel like it was the next day.
Sorry to interrupt you. Wasn't that like the first live sporting
Yes.
event?
Everybody canceled.
Yeah.
Everyone canceled. And Vince was like, hell no, we're not canceling. Because then we're going to give the terrorists exactly what they want. Right. So he came and gave this.
Everybody was out on the ramp at the beginning.
Oh, my God. It was so crazy special. So, and he came out at the very beginning before anybody went on the ramp. He came, I don't know if you remember, he gave the speech that everyone was like, you need to run for president. Like, it was just so amazing and brought the country together, right? Yeah. And then they had me in the middle of the ring.
Am I thinking of something else, or did JBL make some kind of speech too? Maybe announcing or something? No? Okay.
No, I don't think so. I just remember Vince in the middle of the ring making that speech. Okay. He gets out. I'm in the middle of the ring now getting ready to sing as they're bringing all the superstars and everybody that works backstage. Yeah. Too. All line up in the ramp. And now you have me singing, and I'm like, when they told me, I just remember when they told me I was singing it, I was honored. I was scared out of my mind. But I was like, you got to do this. Like, you have to do this. And there's a reason that you've been singing it all leading up, right? For a whole year, I'd been already singing it. And being, that I lived in New York and everything else, I was like, yeah, I have to do this.
Actually, I have goosebumps now. Because the weight of that, you're the first person that sang the national anthem.
After 9/11.
Yeah, that's the enormity of that is crazy.
Yeah, so, but I knew I had to.
Yeah.
And it was Paul Heyman who came up to me and he's like, you got this, you can do this. I think you could see my face, right? And he was like, Lil, it's okay, just be you. Go out there, just sing your heart out, right? And he goes, and whatever happens after, just let it all organically happen. Just whatever, So I'm like, thank you, Paul, thank you. And so I go out, and now this time, because I later did it to music, but at this time I was just doing a cappella. So it's just me, my quivering voice. You can hear the emotion if you go back, because it was just like, I knew, and with all the banners and everybody just needed a healing moment. Right. I knew what that moment meant.
Yeah.
I didn't know till later how big it would become, because it did become this huge moment, right? Yeah. But, and then seeing, I didn't know that everybody was going to be lined up there too, next to me and everything. I'm like looking to the side, and there's, you know, Rock and Vince and Stone Cold, like everybody.
No pressure. No
pressure. My God. So I'm like, whoa. But, you know, got through it. And then the chants at the end of everybody's USA. And it's almost like, I remember I wanted to hold the tears back. And then I remember Paul's voice saying, whatever happens, just let it happen. I couldn't contain my tears. And I was like, let it go, Lil. Just let it go. Like, you did just wear that entire thing on you. And this nation is suffering. And it's a moment that it's okay to cry, you know? And so I did. I was crying, but in like that, whoa. We are later. And years later, and people still talk about that moment. And for me, that moment is something like I will never forget. And then fast forward to when we're in Iraq, and I've got the soldiers all around, and I'm an Army brat. My dad was a lieutenant colonel, over 20 years in the Army. I was born on a military base. I grew up on a military base. For me, seeing, you know, soldiers in uniform is seeing family. Because that's what I grew up, right? So here I am surrounded in Iraq with soldiers all around the ring, saluting as I'm singing the anthem. I mean to tell you, I got done. We were staying at Saddam Hussein's palace. I went back to Saddam Hussein's palace, and I cried like a baby. And I was just like, whoa, like the life that I have lived, and the encounter, like those encounters that I've, you know, that God has given me, like it's just these huge moments, you know, that I have worn, but that I have also been able to successfully get through it and make it, like from the very first day of ring announcing, you know, and that takes me back to when I was like 9 years old, and my mom put me in the swim team without knowing how to swim. And I thank her for that. I thank her so much for that, because I've gotten thrown into so many situations where there was no prep work, you know, but it's sink or swim. And sometimes it's like not until you do these kind of things do you reflect back and think of those moments and the magnitude of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you could, I mean, if you could go back and give yourself advice, like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, what would be something that you would say, or something you would do differently maybe, or tell yourself?
You know, I learn every day, and I continuously learn every day. And I allow myself to learn every day.
Love it.
And my latest thing right now is that I realize that in my life a lot, I've paddled a lot. And what I mean by that, I've paddled so hard. Think of somebody that's in the water, and I'm not going to give away yet until I can tell you, but somebody who's just paddling, like working and doing and trying to get here and getting you right so hard. What I haven't allowed myself to do until recently, and since I have, things are really starting to take a turn that I'm like, oh, this is working. I haven't surfed. So it's like a surfer, you know what I mean, that just paddles one way and doesn't ride the wave. And a lot of those times I didn't allow myself to just ride the wave. Even when I had those special moments, sometimes I'd be in my head going, okay, what's the next thing I can create? What's the next thing, you know, whatever. Like,
now, so here's the interesting conversation, right?
Almost
everyone that I know that has achieved a high level of success like you have kind of deals with that. It's hard to celebrate a victory. It's always done next. So like, how do you find the balance and the happiness? You know, it's tricky, and I think it's individual for everybody. But if you don't have that, then you only achieve a certain level, right? So you have to kind of have that hunger to always move to the next level.
You have to have a hunger, but I think my whole thing that I could, you know, go back to, like you said, to it, balance. Balance is the key, man. It really is. Because if you're driving full force one direction, then you're neglecting this other thing over here in this direction, right? So I've learned that it's okay to go on a weekend retreat thing or whatever and enjoy your time with walking the dog and, you know, on the beach and whatever, that it's okay. You don't have to be checking emails. You don't have to be posting. I have stopped posting so much. Yeah. I really have. And for a while, I had anxiety as to, my God, well, if I don't post and, you know, this doesn't get out and then people won't think that I have a life and they know whatever. Yeah. But I'm going, no, the thing is I'm not posting because I am having a life.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Right? Because I'm going to post when there's something significant to post about, something that I find interesting or something I want to share, not just another selfie so that I can post another selfie. Yeah. I've learned that and I'm like, what? Do I really need to post 20 million selfies of myself? Right. No. So but that's just me. And if somebody else, if that's what they love to do, go for it. Yeah. You know, you got to find what's the balance for your life, right? And so the surfing part too, though, is not just surf and do nothing. I'm not talking about that. Sure. I'm also talking about the fact that I've learned, I thought that things also had to be in one direction. In that I had to, for example, I had to sing one type of music, you know, or something. Now, like my vocal coach has me, hey, let's do an opera song just to do it. That's part of surfing. Because now I'm surfing different waves. Right. I'm not surfing just the one wave that was one size that came in with, you know, one current. Like I'm exploring, I'm looking around. So as I think I told you before the podcast even started, I'm not saying no, like immediately to anything. Yeah. If it's completely outrageous, of course, right? But I'm being really open-minded, and I'm being more relaxed about things. And the more relaxed I'm being about things, and stop the whole paddling to the point where I was just exhausted. That is not. I've found that that's not living.
Totally. Yeah.
It's not living. What are you doing it for? Yeah. We're only here for a certain amount of time. Why are you going to bust your ass, like, to the point where I don't have time for my husband. I don't have time for my friends. I don't have time for, like, why? Yeah. So that's what I mean. I'm still a hard worker, but I just balance it better. That's all.
Yeah. So would you say, because for me personally, I definitely prioritize relationships way more than I did. Like, that's probably my number one priority in life, is just building relationships and enjoying and nurturing those relationships. Yeah. And I go out of my way for my friends all the time. Whereas years ago, I was just working 24/7 and hustling. So have you kind of made that shift more where you prioritize that kind of stuff way more?
Yeah. That's what I mean. And even now, like...
And it just makes me so much happier. And the thing is, like, your business doesn't suffer at all because you have to have that balance. If all you do is focus on yourself and work, it just kind of doesn't work anyway.
You're frustrated.
Yeah, exactly.
All the time. Yeah. It's never enough.
Right.
It is never enough. Yeah. And the reason you think that you think that is the thing that's going to fill you. Yeah. But it's not. That when you start having those nights out with friends or, you know, the weekend trips or whatever, then you start looking around and going, but it also gives you a breathing room. Totally. So you get excited to come back and work. Yeah. You know, you get excited. But that's the thing, is that we've learned in our household, we cut it off. Like at a certain time, we cut it off. Yeah. Let's go watch a movie.
Yeah. You have to have those rules in place.
Yeah. Now,
because people will recharge their phone all the time but never recharge themselves. Like, you have to take the time to do that.
Very well put. Yeah. I never thought about that. But yeah, it's exactly true. Your phone's not going to go. It's not. Right. It's not. And that's like I said, I think the biggest thing too is you don't have to be posting every. For what? Yeah. To impress who? Right. Right. And if you're one of those that it is creating anxiety in your life, let it go. Mm-hmm. It is not worth it. I know that there's this big FOMO is a real thing. Mm-hmm. Fear of missing out is a real thing. And my husband and I even had that. It was hilarious. We were in Carmel. We were both so exhausted, and we both wanted to take a nap. Uh-huh. But we were like, we didn't want to go back to the room necessarily to take a nap during the day. And I don't know what it is about. I love Carmel, but every time I'm there, I'm gets a little tired. And he and I do. We realize we think maybe the allergy or pollen or something is really strong there. Yeah. It makes you a little lethargic in a way. So I was out of it, and so my husband goes. I say to him, I said, do you want to, I think I'm just going to sit here on the bench and just chill for a minute. And he goes, I said, do you want to go back to your room? He goes, no, I literally have FOMO right now. And I go, I do too. I said, so let's just sit on the bench. And if we fall asleep, we fall asleep. And we did. We fell asleep.
Oh, that's great.
And it was nice. And we were outside, you know. But we realized too, had we gone back to the hotel room, it was fine.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is that you just feel like you got to capture like life in 24 hours every day.
Yeah.
Go.
It's so unnatural.
It is so unhealthy.
Yeah.
And
and it's funny. It's like getting off a drug or something where you have those withdrawal symptoms. But a few days into it, like we've gone on vacations where I haven't even had my phone, and we've been out of the country, and my phone doesn't work, and I love it. Like a few days into it, like I never want to look at my phone again. You know? Yeah.
Right.
It's amazing.
I know. But it is like people like you and I that run our own, you know, companies and whatever that we go, okay, really? Like, can I just detach? You know, but you can set boundaries to detach for a few hours. Yeah. You know, right now, my phone is on vibrate.
Right.
I'm not answering. I'm detaching. This is important. Doing this podcast, I'm not going to be sitting there looking at my phone and texting and tweeting and you know. So there's times you can detach.
And I can imagine you only knowing in the short time that when you're with someone, you're with them and having quality time. Not like, Jay. So anyway, what's going on later?
Yeah, I can't.
I can't take that.
That is, to me, that's rude.
Yeah.
Because if somebody's doing that in front of me, I obviously am not important enough for you to spend time with me or you know, not interesting enough. That's what it tells me. Well, wow, okay, I'm not interesting. Makes me feel really bad. Yeah. So I don't want to be with this person because you don't make me feel like I want to be with somebody who's engaged. Totally. And having a human conversation.
I stop talking when someone's doing that. If I'm telling them a story and they look at their phone, I'll just stop. And then the other day someone said to me, I'm sorry, I just have to do this. I run an online business. And I go, yeah, so do I. And so does everyone else here. Like, right. You know?
Right. Have some manners.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, we're so attached. It's only how much you allow yourself to be. Yeah. You can blame it all day long. You can blame it all day long. Yeah,
you have 100% control.
But it's a choice you're making. Yeah. Life is made of choices. That's the other thing I would have told myself 20 years ago. Life is made of choices. What are you going to choose to do? If you want to choose to do, here's the other extreme. Don't be watching TV for 5 hours a day. That's crazy. Sure. So, well, it's crazy. Put it this way. If that's what you choose, if that makes you happy, if that's what you want your life to be, awesome. Yeah. Go for it. Do it. But then don't turn around and complain that nothing is happening in your life, right? Right. So I say that, like, if somebody wants to make that choice, great. And we need to allow everybody to have their own choice for their own life, too. Imposing your wants on somebody else, no, it's not. You know, my husband, for example, I can impose anything I want on him, but it's his life, his choice, just like I wouldn't want him to impose on me. Yep. So, yeah, it's choices that we make that are so important. Yeah. And are they in alignment? That's a thing. Just ask yourself, okay, if I'm going to choose to watch TV for 5 hours today, is that in alignment with what I say I want out of my life? And if the answer is no, don't do it. Yeah. You know, and just go for what your choices are in alignment.
And talk about how because both Becky and Tori mentioned when, you know, I told them that you were coming over for the podcast. Yeah. They said she's super positive, always has a vision and setting goals. And so talk about that a little bit. How you stay positive, maybe your daily routine, and how you go about setting goals and things like that.
Well, I mean, thank them for sure. I mean, I thank you girls for, I'm sure you probably listen to this. I love you guys. But I thank you for saying that. And it's crazy. Like I told you in the locker room, I was a little bit like, oh my God, I got all these girls, whatever. By the end of it, it was crazy how all of them would be like, God, you're so positive. You're this. And I never saw that about myself. So it's wild that it was the reflection that they gave me back that I didn't know that. But I remember the little girl inside of me when I was a little kid, I was just so happy. And I'll never forget, there was a time in my life where I was so sad and so depressed. And I was literally at a fence and I was playing along the fence, just like you would with a little girl. And I collapsed at the end of the fence and I broke down into massive tears. And I was like, where is little Lilian? Where has she gone? Because I was not that positive girl. And I made a choice right then. Again, I'm going to the choice. I was like, no, I cannot allow my circumstances to dictate if I'm going to be happy or not happy. And if my circumstances around me, if I'm not happy, I need to do something about it.
Yeah.
So I did. I made changes in my life that made me a whole lot happier. And so I wake up, I meditate. I just recently got into meditating. I actually like it a lot.
Okay.
So I get
do
up.
You listen to anything or just?
Yeah, I listen.
Okay.
I listen. I do. It's actually my vocal coach is the one that's been giving me this. This is part of my whole. So my intention for the year. You pick. I started this at the beginning of the year. You pick a word that you are intending for that year, right? And I was coming up with words like, unstoppable, or, go, drive, believe, all of this stuff. They're typical stuff. And none of them were resonating with me. None of them. And it wasn't until I was with my coach who started saying, she was the one that identified, she's like, you've been paddling, it's time to surf. So I was like, surf.
Oh, wow.
So that's my word for this year. I'm surfing. And like I said, surfing doesn't mean that I'm not doing anything, because the surfer still does something, right? But I'm just checking it all out. But where that ties in, she gave me these meditation tapes. And so they are literally, they pertain to the voice, but also to you. And they are like, the third one that I'm in right now is like acceptance, and you listen to it for 2 weeks, and it's accepting and being in the now, and being in the now with my voice, and being in the now with my spirit, and being, all of this. So I listen to it. It's like 27 minutes long. So I wake up at 5. I'm a morning riser. I love to wake up early.
Yeah.
I wake up at 5. I listen to that tape, and then I go and get my workout on, whether it's DDP yoga or incorporate, other avenues. Like, I just like to mix it all up, and I get my morning going that way, and I take my dog for a walk, because that's important to him.
Yeah.
And I made a choice to have a dog, and I don't want to just have that dog sit at home, do absolutely nothing.
Yes.
So I'm going to make a choice. Because it's fair for him, right? To give him his playtime.
Yep.
So I take him to the beach, and it's my time too. Like, it has become both of our times. It's so awesome. So we go to the beach in the morning. I get back around 7:30, 8:45, get ready. And then my day is boom.
Yep.
Go for it. I think that because of that, working out has helped me stay positive. Meditating I love.
Do you journal at all or no?
I do, because I'm been in these courses now to journal. I never was a big writer. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't like writing. I like writing songs. I don't like writing journals. Okay. But I'm doing it more and more. I've been doing it for the last few years, and now I'm liking it better. And I have seen the value of it.
Okay.
I didn't know at first. I'm like, what do you mean? I could just have it in my head or whatever.
Right.
But no, I see the value. There's a lot of things that I haven't been able to figure out. And then it's only when I start writing it all out that all of a sudden the idea comes, or this, and I go, oh, okay, this is why I'm feeling this way. So
now, do you have a process for making decisions? Let's say you leave here and some huge opportunity comes up. Do you have a certain number of people that you go to for opinions? Do you make a decision immediately? Are you that kind of person? Like,
I listen to my gut.
Okay.
I'm a big gut person.
Yeah.
And it's because of experience that I've realized in the past, when I didn't listen to my gut, man, I should have.
Always,
I should have always. Yeah. And so it's shown me so many times. There's been so much proof that I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
Listen to her. She's got you. She's got you. So I listen to my gut. But yeah, I do. I bounce it off my husband. And then I'll also bounce it off if I have friends that I really rely on. Like, it depends on what the field is. If it's singing, I'll go to my vocal coach, right? If it's anything other, business or whatever. Like, there's different groups of people that I think it's great to bounce things off. Okay. But not too many.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then it gets convoluted.
And you're overwhelmed.
Too many opinions. Yep. And then I got to go to, because even sometimes my husband has been like, oh, I don't know. But my gut has strongly told me, no, you know what? I'm going to go for it. So I haven't, just because I discuss it with him doesn't mean like it's the end all be all. Yeah. And vice versa. There's been things that I've talked to him about and he feels strongly about, and he goes for it, and he was right. Mm-hmm. So we'll give our opinions. And we literally always say that. We don't say, I think you should do this.
Oh, okay. I like that.
No.
Yeah.
My opinion, if you're asking for my opinion, that's the other thing too. Sometimes people want to have a conversation and they're not necessarily asking for your opinion.
They just want you to validate their opinion.
Or they just want you to listen.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You're right. True. Yeah.
Yeah. They just want you to listen.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I can tell when he's in the mode of just, I need someone to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And when he gets done, I'll go, do you want to hear my opinion? Or was this just a venting? And he'll literally go, I was just venting. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's great.
You know? And that's it. I leave it alone.
Right.
You know, that's the other thing. Don't be like, well, I think you should do this. You know?
Yeah.
No, you don't have the magic ball that tells you exactly what the right thing is. We all strongly think we're right, but so many times we're wrong too. And so it's not cool to impose your opinion on somebody saying, no, that's what you should do. That's it.
Right.
Because now you're going to carry that too. If it goes wrong.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And how do you bounce back from a bad day? It seems like you pretty much stay pretty positive.
You know what? I let the tears go too.
Yeah.
I absolutely.
Okay.
If I am upset, I will not hold back. I will let it all out. I think tears were made for a reason.
Yeah.
Guys too. You guys have the ability to cry, so I don't think that it's because you're a man should you have to sustain the tears. And if you feel like you need to do it behind closed doors, then do it behind closed doors, but do it. You know, that's what I say is, you can be frustrated, you could be upset, let it all out, and then, but don't, that's what I always say, don't stay in that pity party too long. Mm-hmm. You can have a pity party.
Yeah.
Don't stay in it too long.
Do you have any favorite books?
Oh, wow. So right now I'm reading one that, it's funny, I'm reading like simultaneously two of her at the same time. You're a Badass.
Oh, okay. Jen
Sincero.
Yeah, okay.
It's
I know
awesome.
a lot of people who love that book.
It's awesome.
Is it?
It is like the fundamentals of everything. I don't know where this book, why it hasn't been written so long ago, or the way she writes it. She's very quirky.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
And
I hear a lot of great things about
then so she's got the second one, You're a Badass at Making Money.
Okay.
And so I'm actually listening to that now on audiobooks. My friend got it for me on audiobooks, so I was like, oh, cool. And I like hearing her voice. She sounds exactly what I thought she was going to sound too, which is really cool. But I like there's certain way, and because I'm driving and whatever, like you said, you know, listening is so, I don't know. I find I pay more attention if I can listen to something versus sometimes seeing the video or even reading. Sometimes I get tired easier. Like I can't cover as much reading. Yeah. But so I'm listening to that, and it's feeding like, it really is these old beliefs that we have. Mm-hmm. What is if somebody put $100, I don't know, if they put $100 in front of you, or if they put $1 million in front of you, what would stir up for you? Mm. Like that tells you right then, what is do you look at that and go, oh my God, you know, or do you go, oh, wow, that's cool. Yeah. I could, what is your attitude towards it? Right. And how much energy are you putting that? And do you realize it's just paper sitting in front of you? Like, what have you identified with that? So it's things like that just make me go, wow, this is something I've never looked at it that way. Yeah. You know,
it's funny how many kind of subconscious beliefs we have about money. Certain people, like, for example, as a kid growing up, people that I knew that had money were racist, rude, and whatnot. So that held me back from making money for a long time until I identified that money doesn't make you bad. Like you're an asshole with money or without money. Yeah. You know? It's interesting. A lot of people kind of have that until they identify it. It holds you back.
Are you worthy?
Yeah,
that's a big one. People go, I don't know if I'm worthy. They go to ask for a raise and like, well, here I would like $10,000 more, whatever.
Yeah, you're never getting it if you're going with that approach.
Never getting it, never, because first you got to believe that you deserve it, but then there's also entitlement, and that's the biggest thing right now that I am so against. Mm-hmm. No one's entitled to anything. Mm-hmm. No one's entitled to anything. Right. AJ Styles said it best. He said he doesn't like it when people say, like when they chant, you deserve it in the ring. Yeah. He goes, I hate it. And he goes, it's nothing against them. I realize that their intentions are well. He goes, but I want them to chant, you've earned it. Right. Not you deserve it. Right? Totally. Because none of us really deserve anything. Like we're on this, look, do those people that are suffering in Syria or any of these other people that become refugees or any of that, do they deserve what happened to them? Yeah. No, they're born into poverty. They're born into this, whatever. Do I deserve to make $1 million? No. Right. Now, if I work my butt off for it, right, and I get it, then I've earned it. Mm-hmm. Then it's different. Yeah. But then you better believe that I'm going to turn around and help I still help. That's the other thing too, is people are waiting to make a lot of money before they can help somebody.
Yeah.
And I say,
I'm so glad you brought that up.
no, you can help anybody. Where you're
help,
at,
yeah.
you can
always
always
volunteer.
help.
Exactly. If you don't have a dime, you can volunteer.
You can always do.
Yeah.
But I also believe in, and for the longest time, I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit like, well, what do you mean? You know, because I know that the church said this. So maybe it was because it was coming. I don't know. But, you know, they were saying, give 10% of what you make. 10% of what you make. And I, for a while there, I'm like, yeah, but I can't make ends meet, or I can't this, or that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait a minute. I see the mentality of that. Like, I just got given, not given this, but it is a gift in a way too, because like I said, we're born in the richest society here or whatever. So you're telling me I get to keep 90% and then help out with this 10%.
Yeah.
That's not a bad deal.
Right.
That's really not a bad deal. So what I've done a lot of times too is I either give that 10% or more sometimes. Like it depends. Like if I'm doing well, or if I just feel that I just want to, you know, I just do. But I've either given it to different organizations, or, and I know a lot of people do this for the tax write-off, right? And that's fine. But I also say, you know what? Slip it in to somebody in need. Slip it, like I gave some to my friends, like, you know, and literally she just goes, oh my God. She didn't want to take it. Yeah. And I said, if you don't take it, I'm giving this to a charity. Yeah. Like, it's either you or charity. Like, I'm not keeping it, you know? So she goes, you have no idea. I didn't know how I was going to make rent.
Wow.
Right? And she's got a little girl. I didn't know how I was going to pay for her to go to do this camp that I really wanted to go, you know, and she's 10 years old or something. But you know what was crazy, and I didn't even think about it, the trickle-down effect was, she ended up taking it because I told her I wasn't going to take it back, period. She took that money that I gave her. She took 10% of that money and then donated it to something else.
Ah, that's amazing.
Isn't that crazy? I know. She goes, you've made me realize and see some, you know, look at things different.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, don't wait till you have $1 million to donate. Because my God, now I feel so good.
Right.
I've been able to help people, and it just feels so good.
Yeah. And there's kind of like this law that you can't outgive the universe. People are like, oh, if I give it, how am I going to pay the bills? But it always comes back.
Oh my God. Yeah. I've gotten so many things and so many opportunities, like out of left field, that have come my way that I'm like, what? Right. And now I don't give for that, because you just need to give. Yeah. But it is amazing how it does open up, and a lot of things came. Like, I'll never forget, like I started doing it, and then all of a sudden the video game people called me, and they're like, hey, we want to put you in this, and which paid me a whole lot more than what I had, you know, just donated. I'm like, oh, this stuff really works.
Right.
Yeah. So it's cool. And it's just creating this energy flow.
Yep.
And you can't be just so hoarding with your money and so scared, because if you're scared to lose your money, it means you're telling yourself you can't go out and make it.
Yep.
You can't. You got it. Money's got to flow. It's got to go in. It's got to go out. It's got to go in.
Yeah, and when you have that scarcity mindset, it just spreads to your whole life. Like, your relationships are affected. Everything's affected by that.
Yeah.
Now, I had this mindset shift, and I haven't talked about this on the podcast, and I'm embarrassed to admit it. So a few years back, I stopped volunteering because I had this thing where I was like, you know what? I know how to make money, so I'm only going to donate, and that's going to be how I contribute. But I think everyone should volunteer, because it just shifts your perspective, and it's so good for you. And you literally cannot be down and out when you're helping someone else. It's physically impossible to help someone else and for you to be bummed out. So whether that's selfish or not, whatever, it does change your perspective. It changes your life. So I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I was like, you know what? I know how to make money. I should be a guy who just donates money and not donate my time. And then I realized one day that's insane. What am I doing? Who am I becoming?
Do both.
Yeah, exactly.
You do both.
So once I volunteered again for the first time, I was like, oh my God, this was missing from my life. Now I love it. Like, I look for opportunities to volunteer more, because it does change everything.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Even I remember mentoring this little kid, and just taking the time to mentor this kid after school. Wow. I mean, think about this. Talk about this, just crazy. So this little kid, we would write, I would write a letter to him. Mm-hmm. So as soon as he came in, he would read the letter, and he would respond to my letter and write back to me. So we had this conversation going on, and it was all about getting him to write, right, and read. But we had this entire conversation in this book. And then as soon as he'd put the book up, we'd move on to something else.
Yeah.
And so after he left, then I'd read his letter, and then I'd respond to his letter, right? In that letter, now this is before WWE.
Okay.
In that letter, I ask him, what's your favorite thing to watch on TV? What's your favorite sports? What's all of that. He writes back and he says, WWE. And he's Stone Cold Steve Austin's my favorite. And all of this stuff. And again, I'm not working with the company yet.
Yeah.
All right. So, but it was during the time that I was mentoring that all of a sudden WWE calls for the audition. All of a sudden I get WWE.
Incredible.
And I never forgot that kid. I ended up, because I always stayed in touch with him, I ended up taking him backstage. He met Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No way.
Yes.
I got goosebumps again. What a story. That is such a great
Crazy.
story.
It wouldn't have happened. I mean, the smile on this kid's face and his sister who got to enjoy it and the parents.
Yeah.
The smile on his face was so ginormous. It gave me so much, right?
Yeah.
And I went, oh my God, I would have never, this moment for me, it was so special for me. It would have never happened had I never volunteered mentoring this child.
Amazing.
So I'm telling you, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
It's just totally, it really is.
Yeah. So Lilian, before we wrap it up here, tell everyone what you're working on right now, what new projects you have coming out.
Yeah. So the podcast is going amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I love my podcast, Chasing Glory. You guys can catch it, podcast one. Definitely Google it on iTunes. And I love the stories that I'm getting from, but I'm even doing more than just the WWE, universe or the superstars. I'm getting amazing, stories with them. But I'm also, every now and then I'll sprinkle somebody in that's outside the realm, whether it's an actress or whether it's a singer or guitar player or anything like that, just to get different stories from so many. I mean, that's the thing, is we learn these amazing stories. We learn, right, when we have this. So Chasing Glory, definitely just been a godsend. And then I'm working as far as my music. So this is part of the surfing. Like, I have opened what am I going to do now? I've gone from caretaker, left WWE, caretaking for my father, caretaking for my mother, and now I've been making this transition. I've had the podcast the full time, but making this transition, how do I get back to using my voice singing? And so I'm experimenting, and I'm seeing, do I do the YouTube channel? Do I start singing covers? I would love for the fans out there to tell, to give me their input. Ideas.
Right.
I would love, actually, I'm going to welcome ideas. Would you guys like to see a YouTube channel where I sing covers of different songs? I'm definitely working on new stuff right now, too. I'm recording new stuff. But it's all a work in progress as far as for example, like, I'll write a song and we'll put it down and we'll go, is this really feeling like, and if it doesn't feel like it's authentic to me, then I'll pitch it to another artist.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go to waste.
Yeah.
I always say that. So, so it's just working on all those facets of getting my life beyond WWE with podcasting, hosting, and singing.
Yeah.
That's my, and then my family life. I love that.
Awesome. Love it. And what's the best place for people to follow you online? Is Instagram your main thing, or Facebook? Or?
It's both. I do Instagram and Twitter at Lilian Garcia. And Lilian is with one L in the middle. Okay. So Lilian Garcia. And then on Facebook, it's Lilian Garcia official fan page.
Awesome.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Great.
This was great.